How's everyone doing today? Hopefully you guys are having a great Friday or Saturday, depending on if I'm too lazy to edit this still today. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. But today I have a world tour video of my 1,000 day forever world. I just recently passed 1,000 days survived in this world, and I just kind of want to run through everything and kind of show off all the builds and everything that we've accomplished so far. All of these builds have individual episodes already on my channel, so if you want to see any of these more in depth than, you know, what I show off today, feel free to go check out those videos in the playlist down below. I'll link my entire survival world playlist down there. But let's start with where this whole world began, my starter house. Well, I mean, I guess the whole world began like 1,000-something blocks that way, which is where my spawn is. But anyway, we ventured over here to this really cool little valley, and I built up this starter house. I will be doing a lot of flying with FreeCam, just to kind of give you like the best perspective of all these builds. So I'm sorry if you don't like FreeCam very much. But my starter house is quite tiny. It is definitely a starter house. That's the vibe I wanted to accomplish. I didn't want to go too big right away. I feel like whenever I do that, I usually move out really late, and I wanted to have a reason to build a lot more in this area. So I decided to go with a much smaller starter house. It was supposed to be a mangrove roof, but if you've been watching the series, it took me very long to find mangrove wood in this world. It took me until episode like 4, I want to say, to finally find it, and I searched every single episode for like an hour and a half. This world is large biomes, so that might be some of it. Anyway, though, I think the starter house turned out pretty well. I think it's cute. It gets the job done. I think I would have rather made this roof not jut out like that, but I'm not changing it now. We're definitely past this. But the exterior decoration, I think, looks nice. A lot of leaves, a lot of flowers. Got a little hanging plant right there as well. I built this tree too. This is the first tree I built in this world, and if this is the first video you're watching, I build at least one custom tree every single episode in this world. I think it's a fun way to try to get better at making custom trees, and this was the very first one. As you can see, it's episode 1, and it's probably my worst one. But that's fine. That's how it should be. I'm trying to get better every time. I mean, it did take me a little bit to get better, but you'll kind of see. Along with that tree in the house, I built this retaining wall, and there's like a little pathway all here in the first episode. Oh, there's also stables in the back for my horse, Ghost, my boy. I got this horse in the first episode, and he's my best friend. I love Ghost. I take him on so many journeys. He's my boy. And he has a nice little home back here. I should probably build him a better one. That'll be something I do here in the next couple episodes, probably. But yeah, this was the first episode. Built this little starter house. I think it turned out pretty nicely. Episode 2 here was all about food, so I built up this barn to house my animals. I think I might have also built up this crop field. I'm also just now realizing I never went inside to show off the interior of my starter house. I'll do that after I show off this one, but here's the interior of my barn. We have a couple friends in here as well. We got Felix, the cat. We have this alpaca that I stole. Then obviously I have a bunch of cows, a bunch of sheep, which I need to figure out the sheep pen. It's not good. I need to make just like their own building for them or something, because there's not enough space in there. They keep eating all the grass. Like, this guy's not even growing back his wool. It's a problem. I'll fix it. And we still have an empty spot for another animal over there that I just never filled in. I never felt the need to get any other animals. Honestly, I really just need the cows and the sheep. So, I don't know. Upstairs, though, up this little ladder, there is in a little storage section. We have a whole bunch of crops and stuff in here. That trapdoor should not be open. We have a whole bunch of crops and stuff in here. I've been trading these with some villagers lately, so the stock is a little bit lower than, you know, what it was, but these used to be like all completely filled with the 3 farms that I have. I like this build a lot. I think this is one of my favorite barns that I've ever made. I'm really happy with how this whole thing turned out. And I also feel like this is probably a good spot to mention that all of these builds I have built exactly one time, and it was in their episodes. So none of these have been built before, not in creative or with Litematica or anything like that. I like building in just regular survival. I think it's way more fun that way. That's usually how I play the game. And I'm just, you know, trying to use this series to showcase just how I go about playing the game, how just a pretty regular Minecraft player would just go about doing it. So, yeah, I just kind of free-handed all of these, and I'm really happy with this area. But this build in particular, I still think it looks really nice. I think it holds up still, even to my later builds in this world. There's probably some things I would change about it, but for the most part, I really do like it. And now let me go up to my starter house, which actually fits because it is nighttime. So I can actually go take a nap. But the interior of my starter house is all right. It's mainly just kind of functional. Nothing crazy going on in here. It's just kind of one big room. There is an upstairs I'll get to shortly, but it's just a lot of storage. I don't want to go crazy with the amount of storage I have in here because, kind of like what I was saying before, I wanted to have a reason to build more buildings and have storage in those buildings. But this was good enough to get me by for a while. They are kind of filling up though, like especially these chests over here. These ones are really filling up with like just a bunch of random stuff. And like this one is super random. I gotta get a better storage situation, but you know, it's done its job so far. And then upstairs we just have like a little kitchen kind of area. I don't really come up here too often, but it's something. All my enchanted books are also in here, using the chiseled bookshelves, like actually putting books in them. I really like these blocks. Chiseled bookshelves are one of my favorite blocks in the game, so figured I would actually get some use out of them. But yeah, this is where I did like my early game smelting and stuff. It's fine. Another thing that kind of gets the job done. Episode 3, just still getting to the basics of Minecraft. I built this building to do some mining in. So we kind of, you know, have a place for regular shelter, have a place for food, and now we have a place for mining. That's how I like approaching the game, kind of making like a building or just a build in general for every like main aspect of the game. That's sort of how I approach things. So yeah, this is the mining building. I think it also looks pretty sweet. It doesn't really look like a mine, but I don't really feel like that's that big of a problem. In this video as well, though, I named 2 chickens. Okay, so in episode 2, I ended up getting these 2 chickens, and I put them in a boat, and then I named them. But at some point in this world, I got a new computer, and I brought the world file over, and when I did that, the chickens despawned. They were no more. So my boys, Bjorn and Rut, they used to just chill in this pond, and now they're gone. I'm actually a little upset about that, dude. I miss them. And I don't want to get another chicken and then pretend like nothing happened, because that's not right. Anyway, though, along with the mining building, I also built this pond in this area. This used to just be like a super just flat, you know, piece of grass. So I decided to dig it out, put a little pond in here. And this is where I do most of my fishing. If you fish like right in the middle here, you can still get treasure, loot, so it works out pretty well. And this is still my only sugarcane farm. I've been trying to not make many automatic farms in this world. And I feel like, you know, sugarcane's something you can just kind of stack up pretty easily without an automatic farm, so I figured just lining this pond with sugarcane was a pretty good choice. I have a couple like small, like fallen trees also kind of lining the pond. I think those look pretty nice. And then this birch tree and this birch tree were built in this episode. And they're not great. Admittedly, they're not great trees. I think I got better at building birch trees as the series went on. But those are my first 2 attempts. Probably not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's definitely some of my weaker trees. This was the tree for episode 2, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned this. It's pretty much like an exact replica of the episode 1 tree. But, you know, we'll get to some better trees here soon, I promise. Now, for the interior of the mine building, I honestly only recently finished this. So, in the episode that I made this building, I did have these storage sections. These 2 were completely built. So, this is just where I keep all my stones. So like all my cobblestones up here, all my like regular stone, some smooth stone, some stone bricks. I have like gravel, andesite, some tough blocks, and over here is like deep slate stuff. So this building is actually completely functional. I come in here a lot to grab some materials. And then this section over here is the part of the build that I honestly just recently finished. So there's like a little staircase now coming down to this like little landing, and then this continues like all the way around, going down to Y-59. Goes down for a while. I do want to put like a minecart here eventually, but again, another future plan that I'll get to. I have a lot of future plans for this world. I'm probably going to say that a bunch. Like, I'm probably just going to say, like, I'll get to that later, because I will. I'll do it. It's on my mind. I will definitely get there. But that's like that's the whole point of this world. I'm just taking things slow, not really rushing anything, not trying to do everything all at once. And I think it's made this experience really fun for me. This I'll get to in a little bit, because this was in a later episode, but there is a zombie XP farm down there. I'll pop down there whenever I get to the episode that I built that in. So that was another, like, later addition to the mine building. I also continued, like, the terraforming of the retaining wall, extending all the way over to here in this 3rd episode as well. And this is where I got this kind of design down that I use in a whole bunch of different places with the basalt, the deep slate, the tuff, and then the cobblestone. I really like this shading on the walls, and I use this pretty much everywhere. Let's take Ghost on a little bit of a journey to go to the build for the following episode, episode number 4. And that build is all the way down here. It is the YouTube member hall, which is also named the council hall. This is where I store all of my YouTube members. So if you become a Shram-a-Lam, if you become a YouTube member here on my channel, you'll be named a block that I put in this building. And this building is quite full. I gotta be honest. Ghost, you can just chill here. Don't go too far, please. Yeah, they all get displayed on an item frame in this build. I still need to expand this way because I'm running out of space. But yeah, all these blocks are filled with YouTube members. Some of these, the members themselves picked the blocks, but most of them I picked because, you know, they didn't specify anything. I did veto some blocks, like blocks that I can only get one of, or blocks that are like super, super rare and very RNG based to find. I'm not going to use because, you know, there's a chance I could just never find it, and I don't really want that. But yeah, this is my YouTube member hall. And I was pretty unsure about this build for a while. I still sort of am. I did go back and fix it in a future episode. So like originally this like entrance thing here wasn't here, and it was all just like flat. I wanted to have this like, it looked like a big door was opening, but I just could not figure out how to do that. I tried a couple different times and it just never looked good. So I just defaulted to having like a basic looking entrance. It looks better, I think, than it did before, but it's still a build I'm not incredibly proud of. I think it's fine. I definitely think it's fine. I would probably change a lot about it, but that's another thing with me in this world. I'm not trying to go back and update previous builds. I like actually being able to see my progress. So once I build something in an episode, it's pretty much staying there. I'll tweak a couple things here and there, but I don't want to go through and like tear the whole thing down and then rebuild it. But if I were to do this again, I would do it differently. And then this was the tree for that episode. This little spruce tree. As you can see to the left, I think I get a lot better at building spruce trees at some point. But this one was my first attempt, and it's all right. Kind of matches the build. It's just fine. Actually, this might be worse than all right. I kind of don't like this tree, but again, I don't want to go back and fix it. I like seeing my progress with the trees, and we all have to start somewhere. Episode number 5. The main build for that one was this huge enchanting tower, and this one I'm definitely gonna have to go in free cam for. So I built this massive enchanting tower to house my enchanting table. It is just all the way at the top. Most of this building is relatively useless, I gotta be honest. I was going for this like fantasy style tower build where like you have a couple rooms kind of shooting off to the sides at different levels, and I think it looks cool. I'm still happy with this tower. I still really do like the use of the cherry wood. Just lining the sides here to really darken up as you get closer to the main structure, like the main part of the tower, and I think it looks really cool, especially from back here. I like how much that darkens it. And then in the roof, this is when I finally got mangrove, so I used a little bit of mangrove wood. I also have a bit of acacia up top. I don't really love the use of acacia up here, but I've just been too lazy to change it out. I'm not even gonna lie, so it's just stuck here the whole time. You don't really see it too often unless I go in free cam. The interior of most of this build I do get to at a later date, but in the video that I built this thing, I did design this interior. So this is where my enchanting setup is. I still use this one to this day. We have some storage and whatnot up here. Looks pretty good. There is also a section at the bottom here where I've been meaning to put a villager, like a cleric villager or something, as like a little shop with like some weird plants and fungus and whatnot. So that's down here. In this episode though, I built the best tree that I had built up until that point, which is this like oak tree. I still think it looks really solid. I'm happy with this tree still. I think the only thing I would change is that I would just add a couple more patches of leaves, but I did like this one a lot. I wanted to make it pretty airy. I wanted a lot of gaps between the leaves because a lot of trees in real life are like that. And I think the shape of this one was really nice. We have some diagonal branches finally. That's something that I just didn't do for a while. Yeah, so in general, I really do like this tree. I think this was definitely the best one up until this point. Moving on to episode 6, the main build here for that episode was this, like, blacksmith forge type area. So I built this building and then this little bridge connecting to this like little house. And the idea was that I would have a blacksmith villager living in this house. That still is the idea. I just gotta move him in. This is still like completely empty. There's nothing going on, so we'll get to that. Over here, though, this part of the building I do use still very frequently because this is where my super smelter is. It's a very tiny super smelter, but it gets the job done for me. I'm never smelting that much at once, so this is perfectly fine. We have a lava farm in here too, just to continually fuel up the super smelter. And I have some like extra lava buckets kind of stored over here. Upstairs is empty. I did have a little dripstone farm going down here to get all the dripstone that I needed. But yeah, that's this build. I think it still looks pretty good. I like the roof on this one a lot. I'm really happy with the shading on the roof. It's a pretty subtle gradient, but I'm a huge fan of it. And this was like the first build I made in this area that was completely different, like color palette wise. Like most of these other builds have like oak and birch and spruce and stuff in the walls. They either have like an orange or a red roof as well. This one, I mean, I guess it's a red roof, so that kind of stayed. But the walls are all stone, except for this building. But walls are all stone. Wanted to have a more industrial feel to it. And I think it looks good. I'm happy with this build. Then the tree for the episode was this one right here. I tried to make a better looking spruce tree, and I think I did. I like this one more than the one all the way over there. But I still don't think it's that great. It's fine. Again, it's okay. It's a pretty decent tree. I was trying to go with the idea that, like, a lot of trees I see around me, like the leaves, like, kind of curl up at the end, or the branches curl up at the end. I don't know what type of tree that is exactly. I think, honestly, someone left me a comment of what tree I was seeing, and I just forgot what it was. But yeah, I was kind of going for that, and I do think I accomplished that. I just wish I had more, like, diagonal branches in here. These branches are all pretty just, like, straightforward. So I think if I were to do this one again, I would just make a couple more diagonal branches. But overall, I think the idea is pretty good. Episode 7. I built an apiary. I wanted to have a spot for some bees. I love bees. They're one of my favorite mobs in the game. So I built up this little apiary. And this is still one of the best builds I think I've ever made. I'm really, really happy with this one. The roof is probably my favorite part of this whole build. I love these blocks together. The use of bamboo here as like a little bit of a highlight. It gets kind of dark here with some of this cobblestone, but then you have like a bit of the copper kind of streaking through. And of course the leaves and the foliage, it's a bit overgrown. I really, really like this roof. And the rest of the build I think is good too. There's a glass section on the back here. This is where the bees actually are. This is where they're chilling. There's a couple ways to enter the builds. You can enter from the front there, or you can walk in this way. This is all completely open. These bees do glitch out a lot, like this guy. I think he's trying to get into a beehive, but he doesn't really know how. You just kind of push him though. They'll eventually figure it out. He just keeps getting stuck. Why are you getting stuck right there, man? Go into the... Yeah, there you go. You're just gonna have to give him a bit of suggestion. Like, this guy's the same way. I don't know. They're weird. Bees are really weird mobs. I also just really like the feel of up here. I like the overgrown kind of pathway I made. I tried to deliberately put these flowers in patches of, like, color and stuff. So, like a little blue patch of flowers there. A little, like, pink and purple patch. Orange. Got some, like, white and yellows. I really like this area. I think this is still definitely one of my favorite builds. And then heading inside this way, just like a little shop front. This is where I store all of my leaves. So I have a whole bunch of leaves back here. I have a bunch of honey over here too. Extra beehive, I guess. Some shears. And then I do have some flowers kind of scattered back here. It's not too organized. There's also a little bit of moss stuff, but I do have a whole moss building, which I'll get to here in a second. But yeah, I like this building a lot. I'm still really proud of this one. Episode 8, I didn't actually build anything new, like any new buildings. All I did was kind of just like fix up my area. I know one of the big things I did is that I detailed this pathway going around everywhere. I think before it was just like normal path block, but I wanted to come through and add a couple more things. Like we have some coarse dirt scattered all over the place. We have some packed mud bricks. A couple spots we have some rooted dirt, like up here. So yeah, it wasn't like a hugely eventful episode, but it's just something that kind of had to be done. A little bit of just housekeeping stuff, so not too much to show off for that episode. Episode 9 was all about the nether portal. So I built this huge nether portal exposed in this like cliffside cave thing. This did not look anything close to this when I started the episode. I had to do a lot of terraforming. I also brought over the retaining wall. I can't move. Why can't I move? Oh, my keyboard disconnected. Okay, I can move again. It didn't look anything like this when I started the episode. I also extended over the retaining wall over here. Also kind of put a small one back there. But yeah, this is my nether portal. I really like it. I think this nether portal turned out super, super well. I like the texturing with the stone that I did. I like how dark it gets down here with the deep slate and the basalt and whatnot. I have some andesite near the top to try to be like more of a highlight, and a little bit of moss creeping through. Looks pretty cool. And I also built up this tree. This is the biggest tree that I have built to this point for sure. Tried to go for like a weeping willow type design. Didn't really end up looking like a weeping willow, but I still think it looks like a pretty good tree. So I'm not too upset with it. I think the mangrove leaves get a little bit repetitive in this one. I feel like I should have textured them a little bit better. But yeah, overall, I think this tree looks fine. I think it's a pretty cool compliment to the area, though. Episode 10, then, finally getting to the double digits. It was finally time to start working on some villagers. I had already survived past 500 days in this world at this point, so I wanted to finally get some villager trading going through. So I built up this library, and I really, really like this build. I'm still incredibly proud of it. This is one of my favorite builds I've ever done, for sure. Especially this roof, dude. I really like the color of the roof. I think it fits this area. It's a pretty drastic contrast to like the orange roof right next to it, but I feel like that works. I'm good with it, dude. I like having a lot of color here in the area with the roofs. Like a lot of the walls are pretty much the same, so I tried to add some personality to these builds in the roof shapes and the roof colors and whatnot. There's a little bit of a tower sticking out too. I think this tower turned out nicely. I'm normally not great at building towers. But I did my best here with this one to make it just like slimmer and make the roof point up a little bit higher. And I think I accomplished that pretty well. Heading inside though, we have a handful of villagers in here. And also a Roomba. We have this iron golem that's just stuck in the ground. Someone told me to name him Roomba in one of my previous episodes. I probably will do that. But yeah, we have a bunch of librarians in here. They all have some pretty good trades. We got Unbreaking 3 there. We got Mending there. Is there anyone back here? There is. We got Silk Touch. I think I have like efficiency 4 somewhere, maybe? Yeah, efficiency 5, actually. And that's it for all of the librarians. And then there is one farmer. This is the farmer I've been trading all my crops with just to get some emeralds here and there. But yeah, this is my library. I think it's a cool build. I like the interior a lot. And it's completely functional. Also, this painting design didn't look like this before. I don't know why they patched this, but they did. It used to be able to put paintings like behind fences like this, and it looked really cool. To me, it looked like it was just framing like the actual outside, if you kind of like looked at it at a glance, and I think it looked pretty awesome. So that's what that was supposed to be, but then they fixed that in like a pretty recent update. I don't know if it was intentional to fix that, but ever since I updated to, I think I'm on 1.21.4. Ever since I've been here, I have not been able to do this painting design. But along with this build, I also built up this tree. This was my first time trying to use like non-wood materials in a tree, and I used this tough and cobblestone design with a little bit of glass pane action. And just built this like tiny little tree. I think it looks pretty cool. I think it fits this little area with a couple benches and a couple like leaves and whatnot. An area just to kind of sit and hang out and read potentially. Episode 11 was another one that I didn't really get up to too much building in. I didn't add any actual new structures to this area, but I did work on a couple like miscellaneous things. So I worked on trading with some villagers. I also did the interior of the enchanting tower. Aside from that top room, I did like the rest of the interior going all the way up. I'll show that off here in a minute. And I also did the zombie experience farm that I mentioned earlier. So if you plop down here, this entire thing is decorated. Just a little hallway, a little bit of storage, bunch of paintings, and then it comes down over to here where the zombies will fall, and this is where my storage goes. I have a lot of rotten flesh. I've killed a lot of zombies. I have, what, 4 double chests full of rotten flesh, and then a little bit of a 5th chest. Bunch of random loot as well. I've just been keeping like some of these random pieces of armor, because why not? I'll probably use them in some builds, like with armor stands and whatnot. Do I have anything else in here that's important? No, it's just a lot of armor. And some more rotten flesh, I guess, in the wrong chest. But yeah, you can see, they come down over here. They're pretty weak when they actually fall down, so it's a decent spot for experience. And then you can take a water elevator all the way back up, and then you're back in the mining building. So it worked out pretty well with where this farm led out. And that is still how I'm getting all of my experience now. That's still the best experience farm that I have. I'm just gonna fly with FreeCam because it takes a while to go through this entire building. But yeah, in this episode as well, like I said, I designed the interior of this building. So downstairs, we just have some like weird plants and stuff, some nether fungus and whatnot. This is also where I'm doing my brewing. So my one brewing stand is here. A little bit of a water source there to actually fill some bottles with. Small amount of storage. These were also those paintings that I was referencing before. You used to be able to put paintings behind like stairs like this and it looked really cool, but now I can't. So I have to still come back through and fix this. This one's especially gross because that's not supposed to be there. But then above that, there's just a little bit of storage up here. This room is completely useless. There's nothing actually going on in here. And that's the same for these two offshoots as well, but I figured I would show them off. Episode 12, it was a huge occasion on this world because I finally built my first automatic farm after a very long time in this world. And it was this build over here. This is my moss farm. I tried to stick to like the same theme as the apiary over here with this build, like making it very overgrown. Some parts are just glass. The roof is pretty overgrown and also very interesting. This roof design also turned out pretty nicely. It goes from birch all the way up to moss, which is a weird gradient, but I definitely think it works. So I'm very, very happy with this roof as well. This is another one where I think the shading turned out pretty perfectly in. But then, you know, you walk up this little porch area. You can go inside the building. This is where I have a bunch of storage that I don't actually use, which is kind of funny. A couple spore blossoms as well. I've just been scattering those around this entire place. I love spore blossoms. But yeah, there's a couple little like small greenhouses up here. Bits of moss, some leaves and stuff. But then when you actually come down this ladder, this is where the moss farm is, and this is still completely undecorated. And it's also not working right now. This moss farm just fails to work whenever I leave the chunks. But it's fine. It gets the job done. There's a lot of moss I have in here, so I'm pretty good for a while. I don't really need it running all the time. Bunch of other random bits of moss as well. Some seeds. Some flowering azaleas, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, this moss farm, I'm really happy that I have it. I don't want to make too many like automatic farms, as you can probably tell, considering this is the first one I've made in this world so far. But of the automatic farms that I make, I'm just trying to keep them just not overpowered. Just farms that I'll need just to kind of build better with is kind of the way that I'm thinking about it. And moss, I use moss in so many different builds. I could just farm it with a hoe. It really doesn't take that long, but it was getting a little bit annoying. So I figured it was just a good initial automatic farm to make. Episode 13 was an interesting one. This episode was entirely streamed. I didn't stream much leading up until this point, and I wanted to, you know, make a challenge for myself. To stream one whole episode of this series. And the main idea for that episode was to just explore. I wanted to explore this world with no plan. Just run around, find some cool stuff, find some cool areas, and just kind of go from there. And not have any type of a plan whatsoever. And throughout my journey, I found some sniffer eggs. So I decided that the build for that episode was going to be a sniffer enclosure. So I built this entire thing on stream, and I think it looks nice. I like the border of the entire enclosure. I think this thing is textured nicely and has some cool like little details. I tried to mix in some of these like new flowers, like the torch flowers and the pitcher pods, which are over there. I still have to clean up the area around this pond and actually really detail it. It's still pretty bland. I've just been using this as a place to grow these and just have a couple small patches. I think more patches of these will work. Right now it just looks kind of weird. I just need to actually farm these. They're pretty annoying to farm, though, I gotta be honest. I know I could put, like, a minecart system underneath this whole thing, and it is completely flat, so it would be pretty easy to do. I just don't want to. I don't mind coming in here and just kind of grabbing these every so often. Anyway, though, these are our sniffers. We got Boris, and we have Jonathan, and then this is their child, who is unnamed. But they have a little spot to take some shade in. Or maybe, you know, take some shelter from the rain and the storms and whatnot. A couple small bushes in here, small shrubs. And then this was the tree for the episode. This little oak tree, which I think is a much better version of the ones that I built in episode 1 and episode 2. So this will probably be like my base, like small oak tree that I use going forward. I think this tree looks so much better than the first couple. Episode 14 was one of my favorite episodes in this series for a couple reasons. The main reason is that this was the first episode that I actually featured another content creator on. This is going to be something that I do a lot more in the future, and I've also done again since this episode, but we'll get to that. Yeah, so my friend Simply Knight joined me in this world to help me build up this section over here. So I knew I wanted to have like a nice dense like spruce forest in this area, and I think next to the member hall was just the perfect spot. Simply Knight came on to help me build one tree and then just kind of give me some tips for building the rest. He's very good at building trees. He's built some fantastic ones, you know, on his videos. So I knew I wanted, you know, to have his expertise. He built this one, this like small little spruce tree right here. He built that one and kind of walked through the process. I cut up, you know, that section in the video, trying to show his thought process as well as I could. So then after he built this one, I built up the rest. And this is definitely a free cam type situation. I built up the rest of these trees. I built up all these really, really tall ones, a couple other little tiny ones, trying to mimic his design a little bit. And I think this area is really, really cool. This is one of my favorite areas in the world. I love just walking through this. It looks so cool. I also built up this little cabin. It's a very small cabin. This is kind of just Simply Knight's house, I guess. That's kind of what I deemed it as. Just a very, very tiny starter looking cabin. But I'm a huge fan of this whole area. This little bridge too over this tiny little pond. And this is going to lead off here eventually. I don't know what's going to go there just yet. I have a couple ideas brewing, but nothing in particular. I just really, really love how this whole area turned out. It does kind of feel like a forest to me when you're kind of in the middle of it. So this is one of my favorite episodes of the series, for sure. I will say the inside of the cabin is very, very bare bones. There's just a bed, and that's kind of it. Episode 15 was another one where I didn't really build all that much because I was focused on beating the game. And I think it was about time. It was almost day 900, I think. Maybe it was past day 900. And I figured it was a good time to finally beat the game. So we got that all out of the way. And I also built up this tree. I wanted to make like a falling tree. Just kind of chilling, touching the pond a little bit. A couple of these leaves actually go in the pond. This is a very overgrown tree. There's a ton of glowberries here. There's some spore blossoms. This is a cool tree too. I was not so sure about it when I first made the episode, but I've definitely come along to it. I think it adds to this pond really well, and I'm excited to still decorate around this place. I didn't even like mention when I built this pond. I'm just now thinking about that. When did I build this pond? I don't remember. I figured it out. This pond was built the same episode that this library was built. It was episode 10. I don't know why I didn't mention this, but yeah, I built another pond. So it was pretty similar to the first one. I just didn't really design the outside of this one. So then after I beat the game the following episode, that brings us to the most recent episode in this series. And it was the one that I built this observatory in. I've known for a very long time in this world that I wanted a map room. And I thought an observatory of sorts would be the perfect building to actually house one of those. I've never had a big map, like ever, in any of my Minecraft worlds. I've never done this. And I thought this is the perfect world to do this for the first time. So let's talk about the exterior first, and then I'll go inside. As of right now, I think this is the best thing I've ever built. I think that all the time, though. Whenever I build anything new, I'm like, man, that's amazing. Like, I'm never going to top that. And then I feel like I top it. I don't know if it's a situation where I just actually am always building something better, or if it's something where it's like, I just get used to the previous build and just get a little tired of it. So then whatever I build next, it just seems better to me by comparison. So I don't know. But anyway, right now, this is like my favorite thing I've ever made. I'm really happy with this build. I think the shape is just about perfect, in my opinion. I normally can't get the shape down exactly how I want it, like in my head. But this time, I feel like I really did. The shape of this tower, I think, turned out super, super nicely. And it looks great from like all over the place in this whole area. It's a really cool, like, just piece to have on top of that small mountain. I think it's awesome. I'm still super, super happy with this build. The shading of it, I was a little bit ambitious too with some spots. So like, I knew I wanted to have sandstone as the main block. So getting a little bit darker, that felt pretty natural. I've done this a bunch of times, going like from sandstone to birch to oak. And then I decided to tuck in a little bit of brown mushroom block just to get pretty dark in some spots. But then I wanted to get lighter as well. And I was toying with the idea of using some white blocks, like some calcite and the new pale oak wood. That would get really bright. But I decided to go against that. And instead I used some bamboo, which allowed me to mix it in with some moss as well. And this was something that I wasn't completely in love with at first, but I think I've definitely come around to it. I have since added some leaves. I'm pretty sure in this episode when I was talking about this build, I mentioned that I wasn't going to add leaves, but I decided to, just because I feel like it makes more sense like up against the moss like that. So overall, I love how this texturing turned out. It was a little bit ambitious for me, but I think it worked out. And then these window designs I think are pretty cool. It's a different window design than what I'm used to. There's actually no block, like no window block there, no glass or anything. It's just completely open concept. Which might get a little chilly up here because it definitely snows on this mountain, but just don't think about that too much, okay? Now for the interior, I had the help from another friend, Etat. So he came on the world much like Simple Innate did a couple episodes back, and he designed this entire interior except for this side. I did this. It's nothing. I just put a floor in, I put a ceiling in, and put a bed. I didn't want this to be like super overly decorated, so I kind of just let it go. But he designed this whole section, and this turned out so well. It's so vibrant in here. It's so much more alive than what I could have done. And then here is the map of the whole area. And I just love looking at this map. It's so cool. Because like I said before, dude, I've never had a map like this. It looks awesome. And then Etat also came up with this idea to have a book for the visitors of the worlds, where they can like write something whenever they join. And I think that's a sweet idea. There's this nice big spiral staircase that leads you up to the second floor. And up here, it is still very open concept. All these windows are open, like I said before. And there's just like this little railing where you can kind of just like look down at the whole build. And this is my favorite sign. Don't ask me why. I skipped a whole bunch of trees, I'm just now realizing. So before I conclude the video, I built up these two oak trees. One of them was on episode 8. The other one was on episode 7. I think these trees also are great. They're holding hands too. So that's kind of adorable. But these ones are pretty open. It's a step up from the tree that's over here by the enchanting tower. I think it's an upgrade over that one. It got a little bit taller and just a little bit bushier. So I think these trees turned out pretty nicely. You can see a lot of the branch. You can see a lot of like the trunk of the tree as well. Pretty cool in my opinion. And then we have a couple tall birch trees as well. And these are definitely an upgrade over the original couple. So this one over here and this one over here were built first. But I think they were built in different episodes. I don't think I built these at the same time. This one's episode 11. And then this one over here is episode 12. So those two were built back-to-back episodes. And then this one is the most recent tree that I built. This is episode 16. So yeah, that'll do it here for the world tour. I love this world so far. This is one of my favorite Minecraft worlds I've definitely ever had. I've had some pretty good ones in the past, I think, but this one's special to me. I really like just looking at all the progress that I've made, and I'm glad that I've built everything so close together so I can kind of see that progress really easily by just looking around. But it's been an awesome first 1,000 days in this world. I'm so grateful for all the support this series, has given my channel. You guys have just been going insane. So honestly, just thank you all so much. I really can't appreciate you enough. I'm gonna close this video out with a few cinematics with shaders on, just showing off this area to its fullest potential. So thank you guys so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.